while.
And we're back for another edition of the Lakers Fast Break YouTube channel. I'm with my co host, Joe Soro. I am your host for the evening, Sean Grice, aka Magic Man. Unfortunately, our podfather, Jared Glassford, could not join us tonight. Family comes first when it comes to Lakers Fast Break, and family required Gerald's undivided attention this evening. So me and Joe will be accordingly hosting tonight. And Joe, welcome into the Lakers Fast Break.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the show.
All right. So the topic for this evening is the big questions remaining for the Lakers before they head into training camp. And in my mind, there were three. And I think yourself, along with pretty much every other fan with half a brain will agree with the three. So the first one is definitely there needs to be minute control on both LeBron and AD.
Yes, minute control might be priority one.
That's what I had as number one as well. So
Yeah.
we're in simpatico
Yes.
once
Yes.
again.
Yes.
So yeah,
And this wasn't planned, guys. This was just us setting it up that way, or it's set up that way, I should say.
100%, Joe. I mean, the primary bugaboo for me with Darvin Ham was the fact that he refused or was resistant or was obstinate or didn't really think about it because he's a first year head coach. Was that there was no staggering of minutes between LeBron and AD. And as a result, the point differential suffered dramatically when both of them were out of the game because the Lakers really didn't have a tertiary or a second scorer or a secondary playmaker that could try to gravitate the weight that both of those guys have on the impact of the game. It wasn't there. I mean, we relied on Russell Westbrook as our sixth man, and as much as he tried to play his best, he wasn't really reliable in that role. So I think the emphasis that Palinka and Ham both put on the depth was to help alleviate the minute situation. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, the issue is when you're running an offense that's not interchangeable. We know that the talent level is going to drop when you move LeBron and AD out of the lineup. But there needs to be enough cohesiveness and enough chemistry to where uh, you can allow your team 3 to 6 minutes breaks where the secondary and the second tier players can cover ground. Uh, that's basketball. Basketball is preparation and also understanding that you can't play your players 48 minutes. That's not anything recent. That's been like this for years. This is not the Wilt days where Wilt could play 48 minutes a game. Those days are gone and long and gone. So it's going to be Darvin Ham's duty to set up an offense or set up a lineup to where and he did get a chance to do that towards the end of the season last year and into the playoffs. But that's because the talent allowed him to do that. We weren't able to do it with Russell Westbrook because Russell Westbrook's game that is not a cohesive team chemistry, team building game. It is an individual game, and it was an individual game that no longer was at an elite level. If you had Russell Westbrook in 2017, it'd be a completely different story. Uh, but right now, the Lakers have depth, youth, and enough talent to make up for those hopefully 12 to 15 minutes per game from AD and LeBron with talent that can at least sustain what they're doing during the game. And that's what we're going to be waiting to see. If Darvingham is going to make mistakes there, if he's stubborn in his lineups, which NBA coaches do have the habit of being stubborn. It's not about being smart. They can be stubborn. And the stubborn here could cost Darvingham. It could cost him a lot, actually. It could cost him an NBA title this year. So my hope is that he doesn't become stubborn in any one lineup. Try to adjust to every lineup as much as you can. That's the key to today's NBA too, is complete adjustments. The games that you're going to be starting the bigs more or finishing off with the bigs, the games that you're going to play with a smaller lineup, those have to be justified according to who you're playing. And Darvingham is going to have to figure that out probably within the first few weeks. I don't know if Laker Nation is going to be patient. I know the organization will be. Hopefully, the Lakers are healthy at that point. I think they'll win games due to talent, even if the lineups are a little kind of sketchy. But that's the thing that we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to see if the talent here is what it's been told it's going to be. I heard a lot of great things, and speaking of football, since we're in football season, I heard a lot of great things, and I saw a lot of great things in preseason with the Steelers, and their offense was looking really, really good in the preseason. More often than not, they were playing against the second-tier players in the preseason, so maybe we were skewed a little bit on what was going on. Plus, they played the two of the probably best front lines on defense in the NFL, in the Niners and the Browns. So those type of things is something that you have to also take into consideration. Who we're playing. Are we going to play with a standout defensive front lineup? Are we going to play with guards who are extremely aggressive and extremely good at shooting the ball? So we have 82 games to assess this until we get to the playoffs. And for me, really, we have 3, but it's really just 1, because I believe if you take care of 1, you're going to probably be okay with the talent pool and how everything turns out with the talent.
100% agreed. There's no dancing around the problem either. They need to find a combination of a 5-man lineup that really only includes one or the other, because for this to work, you need a combination where one of them is off the floor and there's another 4-man plus that's effective with them, because there's going to come a point in time at a critical moment where that's going to be necessary. Now, there wasn't one last year. It was those two plus Reeves. Now you either had interchangeably Rui or Vando, Joe. Now, of the different combination of lineups you see, who's do you think is going to get the most burn from Ham's point of view? I mean, they gave Vincent a 3-year contract, so it looks like he's going to get a big audition. And I think we both feel that eventually he's going to supplant D'Angelo Russell as a starter, although that may not happen at the beginning of the year.
If I had to guess what lineup Darvingham wants, if I really said, okay, this is likely what he wants, it's probably going to be D'Lo, Austin, LeBron, Vando, and AD.
Yes.
I think that's ultimately the lineup that most people will want, because it's versatile. There's players on there that are going to be able to Vando and a front line of Vando and AD is a little bit more formidable than any other lineup that we could have at the 4 and 5. And then, of course, you have 3 ball handling perimeter guys in Austin, D'Lo, and LeBron. That just always spells 2023 style basketball. The issue there, though, is shot making. LeBron isn't necessarily a great shooter. AD isn't necessarily a great shooter. Vando isn't a great shooter. Reeves might be the best shooter on that team to some degree, even though I always feel like D'Lo has
The
a
the
better
the
follow through on a shot.
yeah, probably the best pure shooter on the team is probably Torian Prince. Best pure shooter. Reeves is probably the best combination of shooter and playmaker, Joe, at this point. Probably a tick better than LeBron, but it's really close. So there's like you said, that's probably the best start you could have with the combination of size and versatility. Um, but it's kind of like I saw that Vando and Cam Reddish were both playing at Rico Hines' basketball tournament. Joe, he's an assistant coach with the 76ers, and he also holds a big camp, which is basically like round robin, like cutthroat basketball. And it looked like Vando and Reddish were playing together, and it looks like they've been playing together all summer long. So, like we said, number two was shooting. Now you mentioned the shot making. That was the number two issue to me. That was the big question after the minutes problem. So do you like if you had to flip a coin, right? If you said the Lakers are going to be 25th again at 3-point shooting, or they're going to be better, what would you take?
Oh, they're going to
20.
be better. Oh no, they're
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
better.
You
Yeah,
take the better. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. There's too much talent here. There's too much youth for it not to be a little better. The Lakers. I gotta put this in a visual for everyone again. The Lakers, until the trade deadline, were a non-playoff team. I want you guys to really understand what I'm saying here. They were a non-playoff team. That's with LeBron James and a 30-year-old AD. They were in the dumps. And within a week, they were able to flip that around, make the seventh seed, still have a play-in, win, and then beat Memphis and the champs, the reigning champs at that time, to make it to the Western Conference Finals as a seventh seed, as a play-in team, and get beat by the eventual champ, who had really, I mean, they had a little lull in January, February, but it wasn't really a lull. It was them pacing themselves, and they had the ability to pace themselves. But they were really number one from beginning to end. They had the injury luck where no one got injured, and again, they had this chemistry. They had everyone understood their roles, which is a lot of times that's the one thing you need to get. A lot of these guys are all individual types. Aaron Gordon, was a star his entire career until he went to Denver, and then he became a role player. Michael Porter Jr. is getting paid A1 salary, but he was a role player. Jamal Murray never missed the shot, it felt like, in the Western Conference Finals. And then Jokic, even when he got a little bit of some, some play from the defense, he was able to adjust and make sure that everybody was getting the ball at least while he was waiting for a shot. So there's they lost to the perfect team last year. That was the result. If they beat Denver, they win the championship. This is after a disastrous 3 to 4 months. I mean, disastrous. No playoffs. So
A
now
two a 2-10 team was 4 wins away from an NBA
from an
Finals.
NBA Finals, which they would have won because Miami was toast. Miami looked burnt. Even
Yeah, they were cooked. They were
they're
cooked.
cooked. They went through the gamut, and that has to play into the prognostication here, because the only negative from last year to now is that LeBron is a year older.
Mm-hmm.
AD is a year older, but AD is 30 years old.
And AD is the future and present of this franchise for
Yes,
the next 5 years.
yes, and the Lakers have a really good shot here of winning a championship. I don't believe, other than maybe Phoenix got better on paper. How that kind of plays out, we're going to find out. They're going to be a threat, though. I think they are going to be a threat. So you have Denver that are going to be the reigning champs coming in, which I think they're going to digress a little, just because I think it's going to be a finals win hangover. Just because I don't know. I just feel it.
Just a little bit of regression there.
Correct. Phoenix is going to be determined to try to win it all. Finally, they put all their chips in the middle of the table. They're ready to go. And then you have Boston. If Porzingis stays healthy, that there's a very good chance they're coming out the East if Porzingis is healthy, because now they have a third offensive weapon, a big that can cover some ground for them when they're hitting the skids on the perimeter, which is really what's killed the Celtics in the last 2 seasons. Is they just can't make those perimeter shots on a consistent basis when it matters. At least now they can get the ball down low and have Porzingis get some chippies in there if he can. But Darvin Ham, I believe, has got more pressure than anyone on this team at the moment. I mean, you can say LeBron and AD, sure, but AD at the end of the day, he's won a FIBA championship, an NCAA championship, an NBA championship, an Olympic championship. Mm-hmm. He's, going to the Hall of Fame. He's a top 75 all-time player. He's a Laker. LeBron, his stats.
I think AD is also only 3 or 4 living people who can say that, Joe. I mean, Al Adels is one. I think the other guy is Bill Bradley. I may be missing one, but yeah, an Olympic gold, an NBA championship, an NCAA championship, a FIBA championship. You've run the cycle there for basketball championships, both globally and domestically.
He's a winner. Winners sometimes kind of come out of the woodwork just because that's just what they are. They win. They win everywhere they go. Coincidentally, luck, doesn't matter what it is. It just seems like these guys always end up winning the big games. And AD is that guy. The only thing AD needs is he needs an AD potential season to come through. I believe this year needs to be that year. It needs to be his MVP season. It needs to be a Defensive Player of the Year season. And if that can happen and he is able to stay healthy throughout the playoffs to boot, you're going to have a very good chance at winning a championship this season.
Absolutely. But again, I think if that's going to happen, I'm glad you said that, Joe, because that segues into the third question. Oh, we may disagree on this one, but I think it's buy-in. I think does everybody buy in? Because we know that the leadership group of the Lakers is now Darvin Ham, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and then you really it goes down to Austin Reeves and Vando and Rui, who really kind of soaked in the leadership and the energy. They were sponges. So I think it's incumbent upon the other guys to, like what LeBron used to say about fitting in. Like, you need to fit in. Once everybody buys in, then that completes the trifecta there. I think, like you said, Joe, if you get the minutes under control, if you have an uptick of shooting or better, plus you get everybody to buy in, that's the code to unlock the best of both worlds for this team.
Well, let's look at that. Let's look from top to bottom. You have LeBron James, obviously, and AD. They're going to buy in. They're the stars. Then you have D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, and Jared Vanderbilt, guys that are coming coming back from last year. I don't see how any of those four. Austin Reeves definitely buying in. Rui's definitely bought in. D'Angelo Russell was very supportive on the bench, even when he was benched during the year last year when he wasn't performing. So I think he'll be fine. Jared Vanderbilt is a team player. You then bring in Gabe Vincent, who his entire career is built on proving people wrong and playing the Miami Heat way, and everything the Miami Heat way is about buying in. And now you bring him in, paying him a little bit more money. I believe he's gonna definitely buy in. Taurean Prince, don't know much about him. I know he can get some shots, but it's not good at defense. So, but I think the buy-in part, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't think he wouldn't buy in. And then we go down to really the last three. The last three guys, Max Christie, I believe will buy in. I'll put him in there as well. But then there's the three players that the Lakers have brought in that are, let's use the word suspect mentally. So you have Jackson Hayes, who has been known under the Pelican fan base as someone who isn't quick in the head, quick in terms of basketball skill. Then you have Cam Reddish, who has had issues with playing time. Usually, when you're a player who has issues with playing time, that means you're not good enough to get the playing time, but you're still complaining. And that's kind of where that is at the moment. Could that change? Cam Reddish, I've said this before, is going to have to accept that there's going to be some games, if he's going to use his talent, where he's going to play 15 to 18 minutes in a game, but then all of a sudden it's going to go down to 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the game. He has to accept that role. If he doesn't, then that's not going to work. And then, of course, last but not least, Christian Wood. Christian Wood is a minimum player who can score 20 and 10. That's how bad his rep is right now. A guy who can average 20 and 10. Granted, probably empty stats, but still, 20 and 10 in the NBA is a pretty amazing number.
Mm-hmm.
But getting paid the minimum. So, talking about buying in, if that guy buys in and plays his butt off, it is going to be huge. I mean, it will set the table even more for the Lakers. So you have three players right now that have a reputation of either not focused enough, not paying attention enough, having a little attitude problem, not doing things they're supposed to, that are maybe one of those guys. One of those guys can come out of that muck, and it'll be enough for the Lakers to use that to their advantage. Because I believe Taurean Prince, Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, and then, of course, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, the other role players, I believe all of them are bought in, and they just need to play their roles and be called upon to make the right play when we need them to make the right play, so that we can preserve LeBron James, preserve Anthony Davis, and make Darvin Ham's rotations easy to make. And that essentially is what it is. It's on paper right now, we look great, but it's going to have to get executed before we can say anything.
Yeah, it's going to have to get executed, and we'll see if it happens. Joe, there was some questioning and some good conversation going on in the chat. I think what we really mean and what we're really suggesting is that when you're trying to shave off or control AD and LeBron's minutes, what you're really trying to do is reduce their stress minutes up until the point of no return, which is normally the fourth quarter when we boil it down to the really good teams into the playoffs. In saying that, what's important to note is that oftentimes LeBron and AD went out with anywhere from, say, a 6 to a 14-point lead, and often came back when the team was down either somewhere from 5 to 11 points. The differential was substantial. So that's what we're saying. When LeBron doesn't need to come back into the game when the Lakers are up 61 to 47 with 4 minutes left in the second quarter, because a team goes on like a 11 to 2 run. There's too much depth here, both offensively and defensively, to try and prevent that from mostly happening. It's going to happen once or twice. Like you said, Joe, a 25-point lead ain't what it used to be in the NBA. So that's bound to happen. But overall, yeah, you're trying to really reduce the miles that you have to burn off that rubber that's still left.
Yes, the rotations, we discussed this on the last show a little bit on the likelihood of the rotation. So LeBron James typically will sit down after about 8 minutes. He'll sit down the 8 minutes, and then more often than not, Darvin would bring him back in with maybe a minute left in the first to get the last second shot or get a better shot to finish the quarter. What I'd like to see ideally with LeBron James and AD's rotation is I'd like them to continue to make that rotation where LeBron plays 8 minutes. Maybe we can get lucky and have him take him out around 7 minute mark, and then see if we can finish the quarter without LeBron James. That's 5 minutes that you can save right there. Now, AD plays the entire first quarter, right? Once that happens, then quarter ends. Then you bring LeBron back in to start the second quarter, and then you sit AD for hopefully 5 to 6 minutes. And then once that happens, depending on how the game plays out, you can choose to sit LeBron again, or if it's an important game, keep them to, leave them in there to finish that particular game. And that's going to happen, guys. We can't assume that assume that AD and LeBron aren't going to play a game where they're going to play 35 to 40 minutes. I'm not saying don't do that in an important game or a statement game. That's fine. But I'm talking more like those 6-game stretches where you're playing Atlanta on the road, Orlando on the road, Miami on the road. Those rotations have to be almost solidified. What's up, Jeff? How you doing, brother?
What's going on? We got big faces today.
Oh, yeah, big time. So with that, let's say if it's a standard December, January game where they're playing an Orlando Magic team that's not going to stress you too much, right? And you're setting that lineup. You're taking LeBron out at the 7-minute mark, and you're not playing him the rest of the first quarter, and then he's out half the quarter in the second. He plays the third, half the third, maybe a little bit more, take him out, and then hopefully there's some distance in the fourth quarter where you don't have to play him a lot, maybe 4 or 5 more minutes there. Those are those games where the Lakers team, that's not so much a Darvin Ham thing. That's the Laker team needs to set some distance against their opponents so that they can keep LeBron playing 25 to 30 minutes in those games. In the important games, once a week, okay, I don't mind seeing LeBron play 35 minutes in those games. But every other game after that needs to be in that 25 to 30 range. That's where that team cohesiveness, the team chemistry, and the ability to play legitimate team basketball will be extremely important for this team to go far this season.
100%. And I think correlation equals causation too. I think a big part
You're
of
the
that.
You're the thesaurus, Magic Man. Say it away.
I think it's important to note that the one shooting exhibition we had last year was against New Orleans. That was it. That was basically the one game where our shooting really showed out, and that cannot happen again. So if there is a reason for, like you said, Joe, why those stress minutes are reduced, it's because of the fact that the shooting will be an uptick better or a little bit better. I think it like I said earlier, Vando and Reddish are finding ways to play a lot together. And you saw that after Rui dipped out of FIBA, he didn't play for Japan after all. He went back right into the gym. He didn't go on vacation. He didn't take a couple weeks off. Went straight to the gym. We're seeing D'Lo and Austin Reeves back to being amigos again. And as we welcome in Empire Jeff, as we're talking about the big question marks, do you agree as well? Do you think at the top of the list it's actually controlling AD and LeBron's minutes?
Regular season, yeah, to preserve them for the playoffs, of course. I pretty much just said that if we could get away with LeBron playing 30 minutes, AD like maximum 35, that would be great. But from the standpoint of that means they're blowing teams out, right? So they're obviously not going to sit them in a game that's close. But I would like to save. While I feel like LeBron is probably going to be the most in shape 39-year-old we've ever seen. And I think we might see a younger looking LeBron at age 39 than we did at age 38 because of the depth of the roster and a better roster that he had at 38 for most of the season. I think it is important to give him some bullets left in the chamber come playoff time, and to avoid any nagging injuries or just wear and tear. But if he has to, I think he can get out there. But I think himself would prefer to get a little bit rest, in-game load management, get his stats, get out of there. And hopefully the Lakers are just blowing people out, and that can happen. I think that's a win-win for all parties involved, except for the other teams if we're smoking them.
Yeah, 100%. And me and Joe were also talking about the shooting or lack of shooting that we had last season. I mean, we got off to that abysmal, dismal, dreadful, horrid, however you want to describe it.
Nightmare,
Yeah,
disaster, Titanic of basketball, everything.
two for 44 to start the season from three. Who knew that was kind of like the Raven in the foreshadowing of a play or something, because we went 2-10 shortly thereafter. But how do you feel about the shooting? Both me and Joe feel that there's going to be an uptick. Do you think there's at least an uptick in the additions plus what you already have?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the best shooting team Braun has had as a Laker. I think it's the deepest team Braun has had as a Laker, the most versatile team Braun has had as a Laker. So I think even if you got guys that are sort of like shooting, I think having more depth and getting open shots and coming into a whole training camp, a whole off season of all this of working together, from what I've seen and what I've heard, this team has been glued together for a while now, and they've been working out together. The Lakers make no mistake of all these posting of their conditioning and their work ethic. They're putting it out there. They're letting them know these guys are putting in the work. Shooting is part of it. So while Darvin Ham and Phil Handy, Chris Gent, Damari Carroll, these guys aren't quote unquote shooting specialists, but they come up with good plans to get these guys in the gym and work on them. And the best teacher is repetition, especially if your form is correct. So they've got them in there. They've got them working. And I said on your show a couple of weeks ago that we'll know come September 7th what they think of the improvements Vando has made if they extend him. They extended him, so they believe his shooting has improved, because I think they would probably wait another year if he was going to be unplayable, in my opinion. So I think his shooting will improve. I think Taurean Prince being there will improve. Gabe Vincent will be there. I think D'Lo will have a better year. Austin Reeves will have a better year. Braun has to have a better year from shooting three. He can't have as bad as he did last year. AD will have a better year. So the long version of the answer to your question is yes.
All right. And the third big question mark me and Joe both had was the buy-in aspect. Does everybody buy in on this team outside of LeBron and AD? Does everybody understand their roles? And does everybody understand that if you have an issue with your role, you could and this is the thing, right? When you're in a foxhole, if you've got a problem with where you're lined up, you could always go to the top and talk it out. But if you go outside the chain of command, that's it. It's done. There is no trust left whatsoever. So how do you feel about the buy-in factor, Jeff?
I think this was, especially for the Christian Wood aspect of it, he could. I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold here. He would have been a Laker weeks ago, if not a month and a half ago, if the Lakers offered him a starting position. The Lakers did not offer him a starting position, and the real reason was that they wanted to see how committed he was to joining them and how willing he was to accept the lesser role. And the first part of that is accepting the minimum at a lesser role. So I think a lot of these guys, if you listen to what Christian Wood said, you listen to a lot of these guys, it seems like Darvin has been a heck of a communicator with these guys and just painting the picture of what their role will be like. Stay ready. So you don't got to get ready. Be prepared when your time comes and it's your turn on stage. Be ready. And you may go a handful of games without playing, maybe 7 to 10 games without playing, but I will get you a shot. Be ready. And we'll go from there. And I think that, this isn't the Lakers team from last year that was coming out of a summer where they missed the playoffs, started 2-10. If things go great, this is a championship caliber team, a contender. So these guys winning solves everything. So if you guys got guys sitting on a bench on a team that's going somewhere, a lot of times they can sit back and wait for their turn on stage because the team is going somewhere and they don't want to be the one that rocks the boat, right? So and a lot of these guys are on 1+1s, make good contracts. They don't want to be the guy in the locker room that's causing a stir on a contender because it hurts their wallets, it hurts their bag, hurts their reputation, hurts the team, etc. So I think a lot of guys are going to buy in. I think they already had. I think there was conditions of them signing on, especially to the Christian Wood part.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, do you have anything to add to what Jeff was saying?
Yeah,
there?
the jury's still out on the last three I told you about: Jackson Hayes, Christian Wood, and Reddish. But even if those guys don't buy in, there's enough resource for the Lakers to do what they need to do. It's just it would make things a heck of a lot easier if someone like Christian Wood could make a difference, especially a big who can shoot, which is something we haven't had since LeBron has been here. We just haven't had a guy that could shoot who was a big. Some of these guys are not going to make it. I want everyone to understand that. Some of these guys are not going to make it, but we don't need everyone. We don't need all 12 to play lights out because it's not realistic to say there's going to be enough minutes to go around for 12 to make it anyways. So understand that this was because of the resources and because of the salaries and because of the numbers that were available, this is what Rob did. He basically put as much talent as he could put together and say, all right, guys, here's a pool of talent. Here's role players. Let's see who comes out of this. We just need 4 or 5 guys, really that can just ball out. If there's maybe 1 or 2 more on top of that, it's gravy. If not, it's okay. We got what we needed to get done. And then more important than anything, obviously, is making sure LeBron and AD are not missing 20, 25 games during the year. If that happens, the cohesiveness, the chemistry, the continuity is going to be a problem. And that's where we got bit, and something we haven't talked about in detail. That's where we really got bit against Denver because they had it. They had that continuity. They had that cohesiveness, and they made shots because of it. The Lakers didn't make shots because of it because we were too busy saying how D'Angelo Russell is the worst NBA player that's ever lived on this planet. When you're in that mindset, even if the team doesn't want to be that person, the outside noise brings in that negativity, and you start just by osmosis having it affect you because the crowd is booing, the media is booing, the media is asking the questions. Everybody's on social media, so they're reading all the negativity about why this guy's not doing this, why this guy's not doing that. It creates a problem. It's created a problem more than ever before because the stars and the athletes and the performers are that close to the fans now because of social media. So we can't go into this season as a fan base and turn into New York Jet fans.
No, you're right, Joe. You're right. And before we go on, I just want to say, Intel Wild, you've been great in the chat so far, brother, and thank you so much for the kind contributions. It's so appreciative, and we've got the best Lakers chat in the entire Lakers community, I feel. And I check out the comp. I love what you guys bring. Jeff, we're 1A. I think you're 1B, brother. I think it's just it's just trying to pick between, steak or lobster. That's what I don't
think you really can pick between because the chat's in both. So I think it's like I think Lakers Fast Break represents heavy in my chat too. Shout out to y'all and shout out to you guys. I see you guys are getting super chats not up in here. So good job, guys. I'm proud of you guys. You guys got there. Congratulations. And your chat.
You're going to be there soon, Jeff. Your numbers are going up.
I'm trying. It's got to be consistent. I got to stop being lazy, huh?
Intel's comment was the season is going to be the bomb. F the toenail clippers and the leprechauns. And I'll just say this. It's pronounced Celtic. It's not Celtic. It's Celtic. I don't know where they got that from, but they're hosers from Boston.
Chowder heads.
They got
Chowder heads.
They got no class. Their beer sucks. I've tried Sam Adams. It's terrible. It's like drinking
from Boston. I saw a clip of the barbershop thing with LeBron, and they asked him about the Boston fans, and
they're racist.
Like they're racist as F, and he said that sometimes he'll react to some of the barbs in Boston, but ultimately he'll kind of just take it in stride. And yeah, Boston has a really bad rep. It's not just the Laker hate in Boston. Boston is a detestable town in so many ways when it comes to sports. I think the only town worse, and Bill Burr did us a huge favor a few years ago, where Philly was just, I mean, raking on some comedian, and Bill Burr got on stage and absolutely, and this is before the Eagles won a championship, and it might have been before the Phillies won a title in 08. And I mean, he was ripping, because he's a huge sports guy. He was ripping Philly sports, Philly culture, talking about how you guys have Joe Frazier in town and you put some fake guy, some fake movie statue in the middle of your town of a guy who doesn't exist. So
Rocky.
I was like,
Philly's no joke. Philly is no joke.
Yeah, he went nuts. It was, I don't know, it was like a 30-minute rant. It was one of those rants where and maybe it's the inspiration on the rants.
No, it's legendary. It's legendary. Yeah. He did
it in the zone.
Yeah, but even if it's bad too, Joe. I mean, Bill Hicks released a horrible bit that he did, but he still released it because it's Bill Hicks.
Yeah.
And there are more hits than misses, and you got to take the good with the bad. I just want to say this, Joe. I'm glad you brought up Philly fans. I realize this is a Lakers show, but I just want to say shout out to the Steelers fans last night for chanting Chubb as he was leaving the field. That was very classy of the fans, and I again, from the same state where the team on the opposite side of town booed Santa Claus and cheered Michael Irvin breaking his neck, just shows the difference in class between two fan bases. So shout out to the Steeler fans. They showed a lot of class with Nick Chubb last night.
Remember Toronto with KD cheering when KD got
hurt? That was really deplorable. That was really
my bad. You're in Toronto.
But you're 100% right, brother. That was so detestable, and I was disgusted by my city acting like that.
It was sad because it's likely a career ender.
That's what's so horrible about it.
And that makes you sick to your stomach. I was queasy in my stomach. I didn't look at the injury. I saw a small clip of it. I don't like looking at legs doing this anymore. I remember there was a time when you would watch those Faces of Death type things, and a lot of times the shtick was the funny part of it. But then one day, I think it might have been that David Pearl thing back when the war started, and there was a clip that my buddy sent me, and I'm like, you know what? I actually got pissed at myself. I was really, really pissed.
Yeah,
Daniel Pearl. Yeah,
I'm like, what the hell am I watching here? I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm not watching this stuff anymore.
Unfortunately, Joe, I also was made aware of that through just email chains and being unaware. And when I opened up the link, it opened to that, and I immediately I knew what it was, so I just deleted it and put it in the trash. It's an old expression, Joe, that the old timers used in first response. It's called rubbernecking. It's like people can't look away from wreckage.
I mean, we have to. I mean, we don't watch the Clippers, right?
But no, Joe, and that's responsible of ESPN. It really is. You're right about that. Just like go to commercial, you could sell whatever the f you want for the next 3 minutes while they get everything situated, and I'm for. This is the cruelty of sports, right? You get hurt, everybody walks over you, and we start playing again after they take you off the floor of the field. That's just the way it is. Uh,
Yeah.
Segueing into that, I mean, uh, Jeff, when you look at the new policies now that have been instituted about rest, it's even more important that this depth situation just work out however which way. I think Joe's right. I don't think the coaching staff and I don't think management really gives a French toast who plays for how as long as it's effective, and you get the best operating manual from LeBron and AD in the playoffs, then everything is kosher. But this team really can't afford a major injury. It would curtail a lot of what they've built up.
Yeah, I would say they definitely need to be healthier this year, for the simple fact that we expect a long run now. Last year's kind of snuck up on us. When 2-10 started, we pretty much knew they were in the playoffs from the 13th game on, right? So that's why I said you gave us 2-10 last year. You need to give us 10-2 to start the year this year, because then we need people chasing us all year. It's different, right? So if they could stay 10, 12, 13, 14 games above 500 for the majority of the season, they'll be in a lot better shape. And then you can have guys not having to go out there and give everything they have just to try to beat out a win in Charlotte on a Tuesday night when no one's watching, right? So it's like they need to go out there and handle business early against these teams, so you have less fatigue injuries and less injuries in the second half when guys' their legs are wearing out or just out there taking a play off and they're getting ran over and get someone stepping on the back of your Achilles. Some of these lazy plays that turn into injuries. So if you get in there, put teams away, which I'm hoping they will do, then it benefits them. But if they find them in the final 3 minutes of every game down to the last shot or overtime and getting into all these extra games, that's just wasted miles. It's just driving in circles. So they need to do what they can as a staff, as the stars on the team, and the role players. The role players got to play well when they're out there on the road as well. They got to play well and give these guys a chance to save them to bail them out in the offseason and in the postseason. So one major injury to either one of Braun or AD, and then we could maybe sustain it for a while, but it's just we're over that. We don't want to see that anymore. We want 2020 back. We want these guys. We want these guys playing. We want them killing, and we want them killing even more in the postseason. And health is wealth, and the depth will set you free. Those are the two things that are key.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like you said, we don't want a repeat of what happened in 2021. In
Nope.
2021, the ship was sailing along. They didn't really get into rough waters until around February when AD got hurt. At that point, we were the fourth seed in the West, Jeff. We were only a couple of games out of first place. AD went down. We went from fourth all the way to seventh. Our defense dipped hard. Then, thank you, Solomon Hill. We will never forget you, Solomon Hill. Solomon Hill rolls over LeBron's ankle, and then that's it. Lights out, because our offense went from not bad with a 37-year-old LeBron James to a G League offense, brother. It was bad. So that cannot repeat, because that team ended up just barely making it. They won the last 5 games of the year and won a play-in game as well. So you're right. There cannot be a repeat performance of that, because even that team tapped out because of just circumstance behind a couple of injuries.
There was multiple things. There was 2 injuries. They started the season 2 months after winning a championship, and and then going right back to having to do all that. it was, if you notice, everyone that went, every Final Four team in 2020, none of them made it back to a conference final in 2021. They paid the bubble tax. Let's be honest. So they paid the bubble tax. Obviously, Miami got to the conference finals in 2022, went to the finals in 2023. Denver, is back. The Lakers were back, last year. That bubble tax was a real thing, and those guys suffered from it. That Solomon Hill injury is going to bother LeBron until he retires. He's going to wake up every morning and feel that. So we don't curse on this show, but I would love to, and then do a nice little send off to Solomon Hill here with a little defenseman hockey clothesline here. You know what I mean? But outside of that, what he did was dirty. It was an intentional play, and Braun, like I said, Braun's going to deal with that injury for the rest of his career and maybe the rest of his life. So, hoping that his pain management is good, and he'll be able to overcome that, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, do you have anything to add to this discussion?
No, I'm good. I think ultimately the health is wealth. I think I like that, Jeff. Health is wealth.
Thank you, sir.
There's if LeBron and AD are healthy, all this stuff gets done the right way. Because LeBron is just too good of a team player for it not to happen, and AD is probably for the same reason why maybe we don't like his non-demonstrative attitude. The non-demonstrative attitude helps not having to deal with someone yapping about my team, your team, and that crap. That's the one thing that I think that's one of the big reasons why I want this team to win its second title with AD and LeBron is a second title with, let's say, a duo it's solidification. It's beyond solidification.
Kobe
One
Powell.
is still good. Don't get me wrong, but that second title, it's like we're multiple champions together. That's different. It's just it's different. There's a consistency there. It's not a dynasty in any way. Dynasties are kind of, I think they get thrown around a little too much. I think eras is what I like to say. So when they talk about dynasties, like the Shaq and Kobe dynasty, I don't necessarily consider it a dynasty. I consider it the Kobe Shaq era. And then we see the Powell and Kobe era. Dynasties are usually going to be like the LA Lakers in the 80s, the Bulls in the 90s, the Celtics in the 50s and 60s, the first dynasty in the Minneapolis Lakers in the 50s, or in the 40s and 50s. So there's got to be some kind of, to some degree, you could have said maybe but they never won back-to-back titles. I don't know.
I was waiting.
But would you consider Miami Heat the back-to-back a dynasty? No.
What about the Warriors?
Warriors, you can say, are a dynasty. Yes, I think
so.
You could probably say that because it's those three guys, and they won 4 championships in 7 years.
Sorry.
Yeah. For Laker fans, there's something bigger than just the championship right now. We are tied. We are young enough within our lifetime to possibly get this. Think about this for a second. I was born in 1978. Okay, 1978. The Lakers had 6 championships at that point. 5 in Minneapolis, 1 in LA. Okay, at that time, the Celtics had 13 championships. So in 45 and a half years,
that pendulum has swung.
It swung this way, but it took almost a half a century to make up for those 7 championships to now get to a point where you have one of the greatest basketball players that's ever played on your team. And you also have a guy that's an all-time great on your team who's in his prime. What better way for us to be a part of this transition of finally getting over the Celtic hump? Think about that. We were just wanting the Lakers to beat the Celtics in the finals. We are 1 championship away from supplanting the Celtics, period, after all the BS that they've had to deal with the last 60 years.
Mm-hmm. I have a graphic that I show on my show that's like the last 50 years that shows in Lakers on top.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, the Lakers have become an iconic, and I don't use that word iconic or legendary. I've been really trying to make sure I don't say that for a lot of things because I think we are throwing that around way too much with way too many people. This is a legendary, worldly franchise. The Lakers are the most popular team out of America in the world. You can sit there and argue with me. People have mentioned the Yankees. I go, man, the Yankees are an American team. They're not a worldly team. There's a world fan base. I'm not saying there isn't, but it's not like the Lakers. I'm talking, you go to the Philippines. The Philippines is Laker Nation. You want to talk about Laker Nation? Go to the Philippines. China, when Kobe was around, holy smokes.
And by the way, Joe, if they happen to make an NBA Finals appearance, that'll be the 8th consecutive decade they've made a Finals appearance. That would crush the Boston Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, while I do enjoy the appearances, my non-satisfied part of my brain, which is usually always everything, is it has to come with a finish. To me, the only number that matters to me is 17. 17 is what's.
Yeah, the 04 was so rough, man. It takes away the Fisher shot, right? It's like we
Yeah,
don't even get to
that's what
celebrate.
I've been saying. And Fisher even said it. Fisher even said that it doesn't feel as good because it didn't solidify the title, right? And 04 and 08, I've went into the depths of this one, Jeff. I don't think you were around for this, but since we're kind of talking about it, I'll go into it real quick. I do like talking about it. The problem with the whole greatest of all time is I understand luck has to play a part as well, and accomplishment matters. Okay, the reason why Jordan is number one, besides the fact that I believe he was the greatest just basketball player in general, his accomplishments were flawless at the highest level. Even if he didn't make it to the finals in 95 and kept losing to the Celtics in 1988, 89, and 90, it was when he was there, though, from 91 through 93 and 96 through 98, that you're talking about 6, which is still more than anybody in the modern game, still went there 6 times and won all 6 times and came with scoring titles, MVPs, finals MVPs, all-star MVPs. He came with the whole damn thing. And
well, and how about this? How about this for irony, Joe? When if it wasn't for that towel, and I really hope there was spit in that. I really do.
Phoenix.
If it wasn't for that towel, he never would have been traded to the Lakers, and the greatest role player of his generation managed to mentor the greatest role player of his generation. Because while Big Shot Bob was winning 7 titles, Fish went on to win 5 himself. It's pretty damn good.
Yep.
Well, you find it coincidental that we sit here and we've talked about clutchness, right, on the Lakers. And I'll finish up the 04-08 situation as soon as I'm done with this. Why is it that the Lakers always seem to have last-second shot makers? Like, was it just luck? Was it like what was it? You had I forget about Fisher and Ori for a second. How about Ron Artest hitting a game-winning shot in Game 5 against Phoenix in 2010? How about Pau Gasol hitting a game-winning shot in the first round to clinch the first round against
OKC? Yeah.
Right now, so I'm sitting there. I remember right after that the Ron Artest shot. I go, what is it about Kobe Bryant teams where everyone is like a last-second shot maker? Oh, I know what it is. You have 8 guys on Kobe every time. Of course, you're going to be able to make the shot because you're old. Because I
think you know he's going to shoot it. So
it never dawned on me.
Get it.
It never dawned on me. The fear. So when someone says fear, who do you fear? Like most recent times we had discussed who Steph Curry right now is someone you fear, right? Because he can shoot from everywhere.
The the only guy who had that kind of fear with the 3-point shot was Bird. He was the first one. He utilized it as a weapon, though. It was completely different than Steph. Steph is a ballistic missile from the mind of military geniuses compared to what Larry used it as. But you're right, Joe. Go on.
Yeah, the fear factor when it comes to somebody like Kobe, heck, even Shaq, even though he wasn't considered a clutch player, it was dread fear. Like, oh my God, how the hell are we going to stop this guy? So looking back on 04, 08, Jeff, the Lakers were favored in both of those finals. So you can't sit there and say, well, it's two losses that should not have happened, especially in 08 when you're up 24 points and you don't close that out to tie the series. Okay, so let's just put it that way. It hurts. It hurts to talk about this, but I have to talk about it. 04, I know the mailman had a huge part in that series if he had stayed healthy, but I think a lot of times that's just trying to make yourself feel good. I don't care. You had Shaq and Kobe on your team, and Kobe in his prime. You win that series against Denver with Shaq and Kobe. I don't care who you have around you. I don't care how good how good Detroit was on defense. You have Shaq and Kobe. You got to figure out a way to win that. And Kobe came out much later after that and blamed himself for that loss. He knew it was on him. So looking at those,
that team imploded.
Yeah, looking at those two losses, I want you to look at how different this career. Look at how different everything is if the Lakers win those two series. Okay, the Lakers are 7-0 from 2000 to 2010 in the finals. They will have beaten Indiana, Philadelphia, the Nets, Detroit, Boston twice, and Orlando. I mean, pretty much everybody, right? Lakers beat Boston both times. Kobe ushers in the new Laker-Celtic rivalry with 2-0, not losing to the Celtics in the finals. The Lakers are sitting at 18 championships right now to 16. Kobe has 7 championships with 0 losses. He has at least one more finals MVP. I would say he probably wins the 04 one. Let's say 5. It changes so much of that resume to the point where you no longer could deny Kobe Bryant not sitting next to MJ on that table. You can say MJ was better, and to some degree it is still true. But in terms of accomplishments and talent put together, because what are you going to say? You're going to say Kobe wins 4 out of 5, 3-peats twice, beats the Celtics twice, gets the Lakers above the Celtics in total titles, goes undefeated against the Celtics, has 2 dynasty era, whatever you want to call it, teams in that span. His career is off the charts. Crazy.
He probably has more because if they win in 04, Kobe and Shaq they'd probably stay together.
I don't know how that would have played out. I don't know. We'll never know. Heck, we don't know if we are just allowed to have our trade done. And by the way, I still got to talk to you about why that trade could have still gone in. I got to talk to you about that. Imagine if Kobe had been able to get, or if the Lakers had been able to get that deal done. Kobe maybe finishes off one more championship with CP3. Now he's sitting on 8. It's the what ifs are stupid, by the way. What I'm saying right now is stupid. It's good. It's good for discussion.
No, but it's good for discussion because at least.
But I'm getting sick now. I'm getting sick. Like my stomach's hurting. I don't know if I want to talk about it anymore. But
all right. So with that, before we go viral for a different kind of reason, I want to thank my co-host Joe Soro. I want to thank Empire Jeff for stopping by. Jeff, we always appreciate your words and thoughts, and most of all, your appreciation and support, brother, because it's right back at you and your channel, and we're growing together. And for everybody out there, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, we'll have our Podfather back at the helm tomorrow. But for that, we'll leave you tonight. That's a Lakers Fast Break for this evening. Thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy your evening, and so long.
Have a good one.
Why the sound always makes me hungry.